Hello my friends and welcome back. I am back and it's Monday, so we're gonna begin the surviving game again. It's gonna be a lot easier for me because I came back from a vacation. I never rest, that's my issue. I have a tendency for workaholic. I love my work. I love to help Ukraine, help my nation Estonia do what I do. So I gotta take this rest sometimes. And I went away to Spain. I enjoyed a little week in Spain, as you can see. You can see it in my Instagram. Link is in the description below. And I came back to the best possible news that there could be. After 6 months of everybody waiting, everybody holding their breaths, Ukraine fighting down to the last man and the last anti-air missile, United States aid for Ukraine came through in the Congress. It finally happened. Inside, I always knew it would because you remember I went to Canada and the United States for 2 weeks in my Northern American tour, and I spoke to congressmen, I spoke to senators, I spoke to volunteers, and everybody from both parties always said that they want to send this aid to Ukraine. So in my heart, I always felt this would happen, but I'm glad it happened sooner rather than later. But my friends, I still want to share this. For you, it's 2 days old news. But for me, I want to share this moment. This is the exact moment it happened. And it's beautiful. It's just, the bill is passed. And they were waving Ukrainian flags in the United States Congress. And then the speaker had to call them in order because, you cannot wave other countries' flags in the United States Congress. That's the rules or something like that. If you know about it, not appropriate. Well, House will be in order. The votes are in and we've smashed the past 218 needed to secure aid for Ukraine. So they have tried the votes on this, and House Speaker Johnson has postponed this vote for a long time. Some said that he held the Congress hostage with his decisions. But now he made a sudden turn, 180 degrees in his demeanor towards Iran, China and Russia. In the latest interview, he even called these three powers, Iran, China and Russia, the new axes of evil. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, I would have never guessed I hear these words out of his mouth, but I did, and I'm glad I did. And now the vote passed. But my friends, where does the money go to exactly? What happens to the money? Now, the biggest myth, and also Russia pushes this myth because it benefits them, is that the money will be sent to Ukraine and it goes into a bottomless pit, a black hole that nobody sees it again. That is not the case. Here is the breakdown of that money. 23.2 billion will go towards replenishing the United States arms stocks. So 23 billion will be used to buy United States weapons for United States. This is also part of the aid packet. So if people think US is just sending billions to Ukraine and it's gone, the money is gone, it's not the case at all. The amount of the aid packet altogether is 60.84 billion, 23.2 billion for military aid to Ukraine. And this will mostly be sent in United States weaponry and ammunition. So weapons and ammunition that the United States already has in their stocks and they have ready, or they will produce in the future. Well, the point is the money will be sent from United States to United States, because these weapons are made in the United States, well, most of them at least. Meaning this money will create salaries in the US, jobs in the US, it will benefit the United States economic area and the weapons manufacturers of the US, therefore raising the United States military conglomerate. 11 billion will go for current United States military operations in the region, 13.8 billion for the purchase of weapon systems, defense products and defense services, and 26 million for monitoring the aid provided. And this is truly the vote of the decade. This will turn this war. It is a turning point in this war because the situation for Ukraine was becoming very dire. Recently, a week ago, before I went to the vacation, the biggest Ukrainian thermal power plant in Kyiv. I've seen that plant many times when I am in Kyiv, walked past it. It was in flames because Russian drones and missiles actually reached it, hit it. It was one of the most well-protected thermal plants in all of Ukraine because it was in Kyiv. But Ukrainians were running out of anti-air missiles, which are directly connected to United States aid not coming through. So burning down of this thermal plant is very much connected to the whole situation of the Ukrainian armed forces without the United States aid. Of course, Europe was stepping up and still is, and I'm very glad about it, because the absence of the United States military presence in this situation, in supporting Ukraine, has sent European Union countries a signal that they will need to step up and carry their own weight, and they have started to do that. But I'm still very glad, I'm very happy that United States decided to still fight for the democracy around the world. And now, my friends, I want to watch a little speech with you guys, because most who were opposed to, let's call it Ukrainian aid, but it's not Ukrainian aid at all, because most of the money will be spent in the United States. So we could call it United States weapons funds, whatever you want to call it, but it's not Ukrainian aid. Well, some people were against because they said that we need to fix our southern border. Well, watch this speech, and then whatever you think, put it in the comments. I will read it.
Some say, well, we have to deal with our border first. The Ukrainian-Russian border is our border. It's the border between depraved autocracy and freedom-loving people seeking our democratic way of life. Do we have a stake in that outcome? Yes. Undeniably yes. Will we stand shoulder to shoulder with our Ukrainian brothers and sisters who for 1,151 days have been holding off the depraved, thuggish dictator Vladimir Putin, who has respected no norms of warfare?
Now, I'm not a United States citizen, so I cannot agree or disagree with the sentence that Russian-Ukrainian or Ukrainian-Russian border is the United States border, because it is the border between the free democratic world and the empire of evil. But as an Estonian, I can say that I fully agree. Estonian border that goes from Narva to Latvia to Lithuania to Poland, the border between Belarus, Russia and the European Union is the border. It's the new iron curtain between good and evil. The evil of empire lies in the east. So in that sense, I do agree with him that it is, in a way, also the United States border, if the United States wants to be in the same boat as the freedom-loving people of Europe. And I think they want to be. You want to be. Now, I am personally very glad also that this aid came through. Like, very personally, is because I'm going to Ukraine. In the span of 1 month, in that, I won't say the dates especially, but in the next 4 weeks, somewhere in that time, I will be in Kyiv for a week. And every time I have been in Kyiv, there have been many missile attacks. And I've seen Patriot missiles go up in the air and destroy Russian missiles in a fantastic show of United States fireworks, just Patriot destroying Russian missiles. Well, now their very own thermal plant that I've seen many times, I saw it and I knew this would never explode because it's so well defended by United States anti-air capabilities. Well, it's in flames. A week ago it was, and I'm going there. So I'm very glad that the anti-air missiles are coming through again from the United States to Ukraine. But my friends, how did the Russians react to it? Well, first of all, I can say you this. Last 6 months have been sending Russians the signal that the United States is stepping out. Russia has been doubling down. Putin has been doubling down in sending the meat waves. They have gone all in. And definitely the plan was, the United States is out. We don't gotta worry about them now. We gotta exhaust the European allies. They tried to do that. But this United States stepping back in to the forces of democracy was really a surprise for Putin, Peskov, who is the spokesperson for Kremlin, and Dmitry Medvedev, who is just a drunkard in the Kremlin. And by the way, the vote was not only on Ukrainian aid, but also about the seizing of Russian assets in the United States and allocating them to buying weapons for Ukraine. Now, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesperson for the Kremlin, his reaction is this. On seizing the Russian assets, if it's really about confiscating our assets, the United States will answer for that. Moscow will take measures in accordance with our interests. No time limits. No time limits, though. On aid to Ukraine, Dmitry Peskov said this. The decision will make the United States even richer and will make Ukraine still poorer. More Ukrainians will die. Now let's go to Medvedev, who is a known drunkard from the Kremlin, and by the way, the ex-president of Russia. Medvedev wished civil war on the United States. A quote, "It was the voting of the joyful United States bastard to continue the civil war to the separated people of our once united country. B, to increase the number of victims of this war as much as possible." We will, of course, win despite the $61 billion of bloody dollars that will mostly go to the throat of their insatiable military production complex. Power and truth are with us. Dmitry Medvedev is a clown. He tries to be like Prigozhin clown, but it doesn't really add up to that. Big shoes to fill. Yeah, I laugh on that. Well, this salty reaction from the Russian officials tells us that they were definitely not ready for it, not planning for it, and they know they're screwed. But my friends, now let's briefly jump to the front line, because the Russian orders are, and this comes from the Tsar Putin's orders are, to take Chasiv Yar before May the 9th. Den Babede, the victory day, the end of the Second World War. In Europe and all of the free democratic Western world, it's May the 8th. In Russia, it's May the 9th, because they just, the Russians, they're stupid. And they have the biggest military parade, and it's bigger than Christianity. It's like it's their religion. Den Babede. All the grandfathers come out to the streets with their Soviet medals and they celebrate the rape of Berlin, basically. So Putin gave the order to take Chasiv Yar by May the 9th, so by the parade of Den Babede, so he could show something. Now, Russians have this window of attacking Ukraine before the United States aid comes through, because yes, the aid will be voted in the Senate on Tuesday, but for it to really make a difference on the battlefield, it will take about 2-3, maybe a month more, 2-3 weeks. In 4 weeks, basically, it will be in Ukraine, the first missiles, first HIMARS munitions, and so forth. So Russians have this brief window right now, about 4 weeks, to still push everything, go all in before United States aid will reach Ukraine and start making a difference on the battlefield. So this is what they're trying to do. And up until May the 9th, the aid will definitely not reach Ukraine. So Russians are trying to take Chasiv Yar, the city near Bakhmut, before May the 9th. Of course, Ukrainians are using this, again, political Russian order to set up their defenses in a way that Russians would be charging themselves against the Ukrainian defensive wall. They have done this before. Bakhmut was a political order. Avdiivka was a political order. Both of these cities cost Russians 50 or 60,000 in KIAs. So Chasiv Yar is another Avdiivka or Bakhmut because it is a political order. Like Bakhmut, like Avdiivka, both of them were ordered by May 9th also. The similarities here are pretty astounding. Every 1 year for the parade, Putin orders another small city to be bombarded to the ground. And how are they doing it? Well, literally, we have tons of footage. I don't know if I can show it, but they are bombarding Chasiv Yar to the ground. They're just using their Fab 500s, glide bombs with glide kits. And they're just bombarding building by building, methodically, block by block. They did that in Grozny in the Second Chechen-Russian War. They bombarded the entire city to the ground. They did that in Mariupol. They did that in Bakhmut, in Avdiivka. It is one of the only methods that has worked for the Russians. Just bombard everything to pieces, and then it's just so hard to hide for the Ukrainians in the defensive positions that they will have to pull back. So that's what they do, just dumb explosives. That's what they use. And my friends, this is Chasiv Yar. If you had if I only say this name of the city and nobody know, what it looked like, it's just another name of a Ukrainian city. This is Chasiv Yar. This is the goal of Putin's order for the May 9th. And Russia is bombarding this huge city. It's over 10,000 people used to live here before the war. And now it is smoking every day. Every house, look at this. Every house, they go house by house and they're taking these. One bomb takes away one house usually. Fab 500 is enough to take one just 4 or 5 bedroom house away. This is a usual house. I've seen these houses in Ukraine. You hit it, you hit the next one, and they go block by block like that, and they just methodically destroy the city, and then they advance. That's how they do it. That's the Russian style. My friends, now I gotta talk about an American citizen, Russell Texas Bentley. He fought for the Donetsk People's Republic, so for the pro-Russian forces since 2014 in Donetsk. So you could call him a traitor, actually. Or he switched sides. He defected to the Russian side. He has lived in Russia ever since, so over 10 years. He had a Russian wife, if I'm correct. He was found dead recently. So, and what happened is the most ironical, stupid thing, and this is a very good reminder for every Western person who really feels like Putin is actually my friend. I don't understand why people don't understand him. He's misunderstood. No. You don't understand the Russian world. He was killed by the soldiers of the 5th Brigade because they thought he's a NATO spy. You know, the guy speaks broken Russian, he speaks fluent English in a Midwestern or Southern accent. He's a American spy, obviously. Let's kill him. I cannot say what they did to him because I would get demonetized, but they did to him very bad things before they killed him. His body was found. So this was Russian, so it was not like criminal master, it was just soldiers from the 5th Brigade. That's what they do to the Westerners or anybody who is not Russian. And this Russell Bentley fell to a victim of his own false illusion, false imagery of Russians, the Russian world. He praised something that isn't there, like this Orthodox Christianity or the Christian values or traditional family values that really are not there for the Russians in Russia. It's propaganda. He fell for it. He went there, he lived there in 10 years, took a Russian wife, fought for the Russians, and then these very same Russians killed him because they thought he's a NATO spy in the end. Oh, the irony of this world. I wish every American or Western citizens who feel sympathy for the Russians and their cause would read Russell Bentley's story. There's a lot to learn from it. My friends, now a very interesting piece of news because the oldest ship in active military service was the Russian ship of Kommuuna. It was a submarine service ship and it was commenced to the Navy and led to the water in 1915. So over 100 years ago, and we have even photos of that. Look at this ship, Kommuuna, right? This ship is one of the only ships in the world which was led to the waters and commenced to the Russian Navy at the time when the Tsar was still running Russia. That was Nicholas II was running Russia at this time when the ship was put to the waters. Over 100 years old, an Ukrainian Neptune missile hit this ship. Now, supposedly, the Ukrainian Neptune missile was trying to hit another more high-value target because this is definitely not a high-value target in any way. It's the oldest ship in the world in the service, in active service. But the Russians actually shot down the Neptune missile and debris fell on that ship, and since it's so old, it pretty much destroyed it. It's out of service now, so I guess it will be put into a museum somewhere. But I didn't even know Russians have a 113-year-old ship in the active service. This ship, the Tsar probably saw this ship. Strange. But yeah, now it's gone. It's damaged. We can see it on this video, actually. This is the Kommuuna burning after it has been hit with a Ukrainian, self-made, by the way. The Ukrainian Neptune anti-ship missile is made in Ukraine by mostly Ukrainian parts, without any Western or Eastern or any kind of aid. They developed that missile. And now it destroyed the oldest active duty ship in the world. Nice. The funny part is that this is a submarine servicing ship. And now it has been turned into a submarine himself. This is the circle of life. You become a ship in 1915. You're 113 years old, and now finally you're going to go back to the bottom of the sea to join Moskva, the cruiser, join your fellow Russian Black Sea Fleet's ships. My friends, a week ago I went to have a little rest. I needed to rest my mind because I'm going crazy sometimes. I got a little rest and I came back and I was thinking, okay, 1 week later, things must be different in Russia because there was huge flooding going on in Russia. Probably, they have had 7 days. Obviously, people were dying and drowning. They were doing something about it. Perhaps they were evacuating them or fixing the dams. And I come back and you know what I see? Even more dams have broken in Russia. More rivers are overflowing. More families have houses flooded. This is crazy. And you know what they do? They leave their dogs in chains to the house so other people wouldn't loot their house, because as soon as the families leave, because the water is coming in, the neighbors are looting their houses. So what they do is they leave their dog. So the neighbors couldn't come. But then the dog drowns because so much water is coming in. It's really bad. Anyway, this is the Yumen region, Russia. The level of the Ishim River rose to 10.5 meters. I mean, you can see it in the video also. First floors of every house are fully flooded. You cannot live here at all. You can only live on the roofs. This is not an isolated event in Russia right now. This is freak floods. You could, as I said it many times, you can keep this from happening, but it requires periodical investment in the dam infrastructure, in water control infrastructure and systems. The Dutch have done it over the centuries. Russians have not. It's a deliberate choice not to invest in it because they want to build tanks. And this is the outcome. And by the way, if you think I've been talking about this before I went to the vacation, now I speak about it again, I'm a broken record. What the hell, Artur? These other topics. Because I come back and it's gone worse. This here, my friends, is a dam. This dam was actually built with Russian money, invested into the infrastructure to keep these floods from happening. But the thing is, the company who built the dams, the owner of that company wanted to buy another S-Class Mercedes, so he took most of the money and bought cheaper materials to be put inside this dam, and now water eroded away the dam. And boom, 500,000 people flooded because the guy drives another S-Class. Wow, wow, wow. Look at this one. This is a very aggressive water. This was supposed to be the dam, the embankment. You can see the concrete blocks on top of it. And it's filled with this kind of material. They were not supposed to do it like that. In European Union, there are standards to do this. You gotta harden the earth. You gotta exactly calculate how much potential water can come, what kind of material do you use, what has to be the strength of any part of the dam, deliberately any square meter, how strong it has to be, and then they build it, and it lasts for 100 years. But in Russia, they built this 10 years ago, and it's already gone. Why? Because, well, it's Russia. And look at this one. People are here watching the water coming in. And these guys have garages, they have houses, all of this will be flooded, and they know this. And they still pay their taxes and praise their Tsar, you know. And it happens, by the way, it happens quite often in Russia. It's not like this happens for the first time. It's not a freak incident. This is a regular occurrence. People don't change it, they're used to it. They want to have Putin's pictures on the walls, and they want to have this flood every spring, because it really happens. You know, if this would happen to me in the spring, I would think the whole winter, how could I keep this from happening? What do I have to do now to keep this from happening next year? But this is not how Russians think in Russia. Assuming of responsibility for your surrounding areas and making it better is not a way they think in Russia. They think in a way that they need to have the picture of the Tsar on the wall. And it doesn't matter if it floods, because I cannot do anything about it anyway, if the Tsar doesn't do anything about it. It's difference of mindset in the European Union and in Russia. But my friends, now we'll jump to Moldova, which is a country from western Ukrainian border, and then Moldova starts. And they want to become a part of the European Union, but they have an issue. It's Russia, because they have a separatist region which is occupied by Russian troops, Transnistria, and Russia exactly is the cancer cell in that country, because you cannot join the European Union if you have a violent, aggressive, weaponized separatist area that can spark a war any minute in your country. So what the Moldovan government is now doing, they really want to go to European Union, and the people want to go. What they're doing now is, on the 20th of October 2024, so this year, there will be 2 separate elections in Moldova. One of them will be presidential election, and other one will be a referendum. A referendum means that every citizen in Moldova can vote themselves. They can vote. They have the power to choose over the integration to the European Union. So the people of Moldova will cast their votes if they want to go to the European Union or if they want to go to Russia. It's a very black and white vote. They will choose the fate of their country. It's beautiful. And that will happen on the 20th of October. Also, another good news from Moldova, which shows their deliberate direction of the country is that they now are fully independent of Russian gas. I mean, they still need gas, but they import it from other countries than Russia. Some European Union countries haven't done it, and Moldova has. So I gotta praise it. It's a big decision. And now, my friends, for the first time ever since I'm back from the vacation, the first time in this week, we have 5 more days to survive, I'll read and butcher the Buy Me a Coffee members, monthly members, and I'll do that to your name also if you become a member. Deb and Rehi Norberg. Some on Steve de Blom, Juhani Tamminen, Martin Rox, Mark Halava Vala, Antoni Eckert, Mart Liberaki, Bruke P. Horne. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart to you who you have supported my channel every month. You can be a supporter or a member in Buy Me a Coffee, and I'll butcher the monthly member, so become one. Until my next video, my friends, which will be tomorrow on Tuesday, so be back, subscribe, push the bell notification, Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.